Chapter 681, a large group of newbies arrive at the battlefield. Judgment. Taking use of the brief break time, Commander Elvin carefully read the introduction about the skills. Release the energy of the Holy Seal onto the enemy and stop the target from escaping for 30 seconds. Each paladin can only use Judgment on one enemy at a time. Ugh. How come I can't cast this spell? Commander Elvin frowned. Seal of Righteousness fills you with holy light, causing melee attacks to deal 4 more damage to all targets within 30 seconds. Each paladin can only retain the effects of one holy seal at a time. Helen said in sudden understanding. Is it so? No wonder I lost the Seal of Righteousness when I cast the Seal of the Crusader. In the system version of World of Warcraft, the players didn't control the characters with a mouse and keyboard, which was why the operations were much more complicated than the original version. For example, the Paladin was a class that inflicted damages mostly through auto-attacks. In the system version, it was impossible to them to auto-attack the enemies after casting Seal of Judgment as in the original version. They had to focus on each battle themselves. Even without the aid of spells, they could attack with their own sword techniques and combat techniques. At this moment, the players had only a basic understanding of the skills that they had learned. With their current sword techniques, it was no problem for them to kill the ordinary mobs. They got themselves busy with leveling and completing quests and thus hadn't taken time to study these skills. The Seal of Righteousness can add more magic effects to our attacks. Another Golden Griffin Knight said in pleasant surprise. Knights and warriors usually cultivated chi, and their attacks could inflict magic damages only when their mages were helping them. However, in this game, even warriors can achieve these effects on their own. Soon, these players found that the power of holy light was achieved by faith. Obviously, like the freedom in Assassin's Creed, holy light in World of Warcraft didn't originate from a god. Right now, these players only had a basic understanding about it. To them, holy light was a special warm light that could heal injuries with extremely great speed, and it was totally different from any light they had seen in the real world. We can have faith in this light? How come there is such a strange belief? This setting in the game gave these players a completely new definition of faith. In Assassin's Creed, the faith was freedom. Now in World of Warcraft, the faith was the holy light. Of course, in the game, regardless if the players had faith or not, the characters such as paladins and priests had their fixed faiths, so the players who didn't believe in holy light had no problem playing their roles. Walking out of the Lion's Pride Inn, Commander Elvin came to the forest outside the town again to do the quest. I'll use the Seal of Righteousness first. It was fine to walk on the main road, but in the forest, players would encounter all kinds of dangers such as wolves, wild beasts, and rogues of Diffier's Brotherhood. Soon Elvin encountered a Diffier's rogue wearing a red mask, and he came from the Diffier's Brotherhood which was mentioned before. Of course, they had nothing to do with the Brotherhood in Assassin's Creed. They were a bunch of fierce and evil people, and they sneak attacked Elvin the moment he entered the forest. Elvin's combat techniques were excellent. With a slight shift of his body, he dodged the dagger and hacked with his double-handed big sword swiftly. Knowing the opponent's great speed, Elvin's strike focused on speed. Immediately, he left a long bloody wound in the rogue's body. So powerful, the strength increased by 30%. The Diffier's rogue rolled on the ground and fled into the depths of the forest. With his great speed, there was no way that a paladin could catch up to him. At this moment, a streak of holy light shot out and knocked the escaping rogue to the ground in the blink of an eye. Then, the rogue instantly died. Elvin looked down at himself in puzzlement. How come I can use Judgment now? Then, he read the descriptions of the skill again. Release the power of the Holy Seal onto the enemy. Holy Seal. I just used the Seal of Righteousness. Elvin thought back carefully. And then Judgment. Is this what it meant by releasing the power of the Holy Seal onto the enemy? No wonder I couldn't use it. I must use a Holy Seal first. Then, A shout sounded in the internet cafe. Guys, come and look. I mastered a core skill of Paladin. Awesome. You mastered a core skill already? At this moment, Mr. Fang, who was busy leveling up as an undead rogue, looked over in surprise. These people are so talented. They have mastered a core skill of Paladins so soon. At this stage, they shouldn't have learned the core skill Seal of Command yet. Right? The elves and assassins beside Elven looked over in astonishment. This middle-aged knight demonstrated the spell to them in excitement by casting a holy seal and then shooting a beam of dazzling golden light at a wolf. With a whimper, the wolf dropped to the ground with blood gushing out of its head. I can use this powerful combat technique perfectly. Commander Elven yelled in excitement. My goodness, is it judgment? The mercenaries yelled in surprise. I have a less than 30% success rate in using this combat technique. You can do it whenever you want to. I only managed to cast it once. Helen was frustrated, wondering if her talent was too poor. You have a success rate of 30%. Is this combat technique so difficult to use? The elves exclaimed. They felt like they had mastered all the skills after learning them, and they didn't know that there were such difficult skills in the game. You can even use ranged attacks? The assassins looked envious. Of course. Commander Elven said proudly, I just understood this powerful combat technique. It needs a holy light technique before this powerful attack named Judgment can be used. Mr. Fang's face twitched, thinking, you only need to cast a holy seal as a prerequisite before using Judgment. I was foolish to believe that you guys can master deep and complex skills. With a dark expression, he returned to his game. What's a holy seal? At this moment, another mercenary asked curiously, I only have holy light. How come you guys also have the so-called holy seals and Judgment? You can learn them with the class trainer. Helen said, didn't you do that? The mercenary looked at the knights in confusion. Where can I find a class trainer? In North Shirabi. Really? There is such a place and person? I didn't know that. The mercenary yelled in surprise. My goodness. Your masters, you Golden Griffin Knight Legion is indeed marvelous. Chapter 682, The Killing Elevator Incident in Undercity. Tyrusful Glades, where the undead spawned, was always gloomy. The dark and dense forest was always engulfed by gloomy thick mist without any light penetrating it. We have a group of powerful people here. Sala finally returned to her seat. While teaming up with the students from Jua City, she said, they have mastered a powerful combat technique called Judgment, and it seems like it can only be used with special skills. It looks very powerful. What if we encounter paladins who use holy light? They are our enemies. Right? Are they really that powerful? Lan Yan charged forward and swiftly hacked down a gnoll. Who are they? Although Song Qingfeng had gone to play as a Tauren, Lin Xiao was over here. He chuckled while hacking down the mob before him. We have quite a few powerful knights here. Lance, the elf captain, answered casually. Don't worry, Lin Xiao said. We are powerful masters too. You guys. Elf Captain Lance looked at them in puzzlement. Although they chose to be undead, they didn't choose the appearance of a skeleton like Mr. Fang. So Lance could see that these players were young people who were about 20 years old. Rain began to fall in Tyrusful Glades that was engulfed in chilly and damp grey mist, making these players feel a unique loneliness and sadness. Look! What's that? A big fat figure walked up from the grey misty rain in the forest with a huge axe and a chain in its hands. Is it a monster? Seeing the creepy figure, the elves felt their hearts began to race. Be careful. Nal and Minksu grew cautious. When the figure got close, the players saw that it was a huge mountain-like monster, as if it was sewed together by thick threads. It emitted a pungent smell of poison and plague, and its belly was cut open and empty. It was a horrifying and creepy scene. What's this? The elves had never seen such scary monsters before. The monster walked toward the players and yelled in a deep and muffled voice, we won't harm you. Can you do us a favor? Our master needs grass, but our hands are too big to pick up the grass. The elves froze. Isn't it here to eat us? Unconsciously, they shrunk back a little, afraid to be eaten by this monster who looked extremely terrifying. They exchanged a look. I think not. You can ask others to help you, okay? The monster walked off in disappointment. After a long while, the players began to wonder, what was that thing? It looks scary. Salah said, I think it must be an evil monster trying to get close to us with some evil purposes. I think it only wanted to give us a quest, Nalan Minksu said in earnest. I think we must be careful. The elves looked very wary of this kind of horrifying monsters. How many quests do you guys have left? They are all done. Let's go back and hand in the results. So, we are able to go to that undercity later? One elf asked. It seems like it. Located in the east of Tyrusful Glades, Undercity was the main city for the undead race and the city that all the undead players must visit. Going south from Tyrusful Glades, the players saw the high walls standing in the Lordron's ruins. The gloomy sky lent a grey and dark look to the city walls. When the elves came here with Nalan Minksu and other students, they saw many undead players bustling through the city gate. With many undead guards and patrolling soldiers mingling in the crowds, the place was boisterous. Undercity was a huge underground maze under the ruins of Lordaeron Kingdom. The large stretches of collapsed buildings and thick stone pillars covered by thriving ivies looked desolate despite the bustling players walking around them. The road leading from the gate to the interior of the city was the road that Arthas took after he returned as the Death Knight and killed his father. Following the road, they could go all the way to the throne. The huge bronze bell had crashed deep into the boulder, but no one bothered to get it up. Following the road, the players seemed to hear cheers and the crisp ringing of the bell when celebrating the return of the prince. They seemed to feel the people's panic and astonishment when the prince walked over to the throne and killed his father. Once the biggest human kingdom, even thought Lordaeron had turned into ruins. The heaviness of its history lingered in the air and the chilly rain falling from the sky gave people a special sense of sadness even if they didn't know about the historical events. Built in the ground under Lordaeron, Undercity could be reached through the many tunnels inside the castle. This must have been a prosperous kingdom. The elves looked around the ruins while they walked, and they exclaimed as they looked at the grand city walls built with huge boulders and the dilapidated buildings. Isn't that Miss Salah and her companions? Elena and other assassins had also chosen the undead race and had just arrived at this city. Following the crowd, they walked toward the entrance of Undercity. My goodness, there are more of those horrifying monsters here. 2 meat mountain-like abominations guarded the entrance. Do we have to pass this place that they're guarding? Salah yelled in fear. I don't think they want to harm us. Hurry up, don't block the way. People behind them yelled impatiently. Meanwhile, they saw many people walking through the entrance guarded by the abominations without anything bad happening to them. Salah inhaled deeply. I'm going over. Sure. Don't be afraid, I'm really going. Salah took in another deep breath and dashed forward in a fit of boldness. The moment that she rushed through the gate guarded by the abominations, she froze, feeling like there was nothing below her feet. The resonant scream grew fainter as it went down. What's wrong with her? The people nearby talked among themselves. The elevator hasn't come up yet, and she just jumped down. How many have jumped so far? Looking down the elevator shaft, they saw many small tombstones and an elf flat on the ground. Nalan Minksu and the other students exchanged a look. Chapter 683, Leaving in Reluctance. It must be noted that by now, many players had finished playing Dungeon Fighter Online after getting the best equipment, and those who hadn't were close. Therefore, many Dungeon Fighter Online players were trying World of Warcraft. It was why each spawn place was bustling with players. In World of Warcraft, the players could resurrect after death, but it was not as convenient as other games. After death, the players had to choose to release their souls. The souls would resurrect in the nearby graveyard and had to return to find their corpses to resume the game. If the souls gave up on their corpses, they could talk to the spirit healers who looked like angels, and they could resurrect the players with the penalty of durability loss to all items and resurrection sickness. With resurrection sickness, the players couldn't do quests and level up. When elf girl Salah opened her eyes again, she found herself in a grey world with the huge shadow of a spirit healer standing by the graveyard. Having not died before while she did quests in a team, Salah was panicking when she saw this scene. Where am I? Also, she felt like her body was as light as a soul, and she was powerless. This elf was confused and lost in this strange grey world. How come your World of Warcraft looks like this now? The nearby elves put down their virtual reality headsets and looked over. I don't know. Salah looked lost. I got here after death. I feel like I've become a ghost. The Forsaken is dead already, right? How come I can die again? It seems like I must run back to my corpse or resurrect in this place with resurrection sickness. Salah said, I choose to resurrect here. Undercity looks very far from here. Okay. The other elves of the elf team said, we'll get ourselves familiar with the Undercity first. There were about 10 members in the Snow Pigeon team of the elf clan. Right now, 6 of them chose a different path and joined the strange Forsaken race led by Queen Sylvanas. Including the elves outside of the Snow Pigeon team, there were about 10 elves who had chosen this race. They were not leveling up together, only 6 of them were with Nalan Minksu, including Salah and the other 2 female elves, Rolling and Ace. Other than the team captain, there were 2 male elves, Roger and Sloane. However, Nalan Minksu and her companions still couldn't tell them apart except for the mature-looking elf captain and the vivacious Salah who had just fallen into the elevator shaft. In fact, the elves were also confused with names such as Nalan Minksu and Lan Yan, which sounded quite strange to them. But it didn't matter. After all, they had just met today. Even if they made mistakes with people's names, it was no big deal. Instead, it might be a source of fun in the virtual reality world of the game. Should we tour around Undercity first? Lin Shao suggested. We are thinking about it too. Captain Lance said, we're new here and must get familiar with the map. He opened the magic map in his hand. In the system version of the game, each player had a magic map which could automatically draw out the general terrain of the surrounding area and note down the positions of teammates and the places to accept quests. The Undercity in the system version was obviously bigger than the one in the original version. Even though the Forsaken wasn't a race with a large population, it still had a residential zone where many members of the Forsaken lived. Like players, many ordinary undead had woken up in Deathknell. The whole Undercity was built under Lordaeron with many tunnels leading to different places. Like a luxurious underground kingdom, its area was several times bigger than the ruins of Lordaeron Kingdom. According to the executive officer of Deathknell, we should go and find. Elf Captain Lance consulted the map and said, Bether, it will greet us in this city. Lan Yan also consulted the map. We'll find this place soon if we go in this direction. 10 minutes later. How come we're still not there? This is the end of the road. 20 minutes later. They looked at the map. It should be here. 1 hour later. Ugh. We lost. They looked at the map in bafflement. It seems the Undercity has another level. Salah, are you here? Rolling, another female elf in the team, asked. She turned her head and looked. How come you're still in the graveyard? At this moment, words appeared on everyone's screen. Your time is up. Oh, I'm so weak. I met mobs soon after I walked out of the graveyard and died many times. Salah got offline reluctantly and complained. How are you guys doing? It's been a long while, you must be many levels higher than me now. Salah asked sullenly. We lost. The elves said with dark expressions. They got offline, and some players who had been waiting in line replaced them on the computers, finally getting the chance to play World of Warcraft. There are so many people in this mystical realm. Elder Sewell got offline and clicked her tongue while saying, I've never seen another mystical realm with so many people before. Besides the elves, the dwarves, mages and even mercenaries were talking about the game while they walked out of the shop. You would never imagine such a mystical realm. Dwarf Elder Sork said to the white-haired and white-robed mage Adolf in a loud voice, the Grand Iron Forge is not like our city. but I assure you that you will fall in love with it the moment you see it. Just imagine countless diligent dwarves working hard in the castle that was dug out by our clansmen in the belly of the snowy mountains. This feeling. You must go and see Stormwind City. Adolf said with a laugh. The statues of heroes. The busy commercial zone. The mage zone with tranquil and elegant violet-colored roofs. Oh, we also have the wine festival. Do you know about that? Walking on the street of Kanglan City, Grand Mage Adolf said with excited hand gestures. Now that we mention wine, you can't miss the Dalaran black wine in Stormwind City. Its taste is unique and rich. You must try it. Although they already got offline, the players walked out of the shop reluctantly. Chapter 684, New Paladins discovered a teleportation item named Hearthstone. Elder, do you know the people from the other side of the ocean? Salah asked when the other elves and Elder Sewell, who had joined the Night Elf race, got offline. I met some of them today. Did you? Elder Sewell asked curiously. I only saw elves. There were many night elves. The elves who joined the Forsaken race looked over. Some of them are humans from the East Continent. Oh, they are humans from the East Continent. Elder Sewell said in sudden understanding. We were busy leveling up and didn't notice them. We'll reach level 8 soon, she said proudly, since she saw that many other elves had only reached level 5 or 6. They walked out of the shop while exchanging their experiences in World of Warcraft today. Meanwhile, although the shop extended its business hours, few people borrow time from the next day. Longer time spent in the mystical realm would indeed give them more strength, but it would also cause more mental and physical stress. It wasn't easy to kill mobs for a whole day in World of Warcraft. Besides, not everyone had enough time to play 10 hours each day in the game. Mr. Dirk walked out of the shop and exhaled deeply while he looked up at the darkening sky. I spent a whole day in the game, grumble. At this moment, a strange noise sounded. I have to stop the show now. This is the end of today's show in the new mystical realm, Mr. Dirk said. I've got to get something to eat. Shame on you. The audience from different places around the world wrote in and sounded reluctant. Judging from today's experience, this mystical realm is quite good. In this world, most prosperous areas could maintain magic communication through the Alchemist Union. And magic letters were a good way for people from prosperous areas to communicate with each other. The words leapt on everyone's magic letters. I almost thought that the Orc Kingdom had built another royal city in another land. It was magnificent. What kind of existence do you think the Blizzard workshop in the East Continent is? From White Tulip. I'm surprised that the workshops in the East Continent have advanced to this high of a level. Have you noticed that there are many East Continent people in the mystical realm? From Observant Eye. At this moment, the two black-cloaked messengers were walking out of the Xuanhuan city shop. Do you think that this is a mystical realm made by the West Continent? It's possible. Did you hear that some of them claimed to be people of the Nora continent? It must be them who created this mystical realm. The tall and thin messenger gasped and said, I'm surprised that the mystical realms of the West Continent have reached such a high level. I wonder if this Blizzard is a faction or an organization. The stout messenger said, I think we must report this to our superiors. As the first group of players got offline, the players who had been waiting for seats finally got the chance to begin their journey on the Azeroth continent. It was midnight, and the shop was still bright with lights. Fortunately, Jua City had lifted the night curfew. The last group of players from different big factions and families only left at 5 a.m. For now, the computers in the shop were barely enough for all players. Despite the crowdedness in the morning, there were some empty seats in the evening. The first streak of sunlight appeared in the east. Another new day. In their dorm rooms, several Golden Griffin Knights leapt up from their beds. We can continue leveling up today. One of them said, I feel more eager to get up in the morning every day now. During the previous day's gameplay, these new players had encountered the same problems, similar to the ones that Commander Elven and Elf Girl Salah had met. For example, they didn't know how to use certain skills. They spent a long time trying to run back to their corpses, and they got lost in main cities. Therefore, after finding that the shop had enough computers for players, they weren't as anxious to get online today as they had been yesterday. It was more so the case for the players in the old shops. In the early morning, the players turned on their communication jades and saw messages jumping on the screens. Whose live stream should we watch today? Let's watch Nalan Minksu's live stream. Yesterday, they met a few elves, and one of them fell into the elevator shaft and died. It was so dumb and cute. They were really elves? Really? It's a pity that I was busy leveling up and didn't see it. At least you were leveling up. I missed it while I watched Eldersu's live stream. In the Kanglan City shop, Mr. Dirk came into the shop very early today. Good morning, everyone. Now, you are watching Mr. Dirk's journey in World of Warcraft. Yesterday, we saw the grand main city of the orc race, Orgrimmar, and I think today's journey will be more interesting. With that said, he followed the crowd into the shop. There were many people in the shop in the morning, and the elves who had intended to enter the game after breakfast had to get online first before buying instant noodles. Then, they logged into the game while eating the noodles. Sala found herself still sitting in the graveyard. Forget it. I'll recover from resurrection sickness first. She was sulky when she remembered her countless deaths yesterday. Do you want to return to the inn with a hearthstone and then come back? Beside her, female elf Rolling suggested, at least you'll know the way. What's a hearthstone? A few golden griffin knights sitting across from the masked casually, each with a bowl of instant noodles in their hands. It's a stone that has the teleportation spell. Sala opened her backpack and saw a round-shaped stone engraved with runes. Don't you know that? New Snow told me that I can use this stone to return to the nearby inn. Can we do that? A quest seemed to ask us to bound to a stone or something. Commander Elvin walked up from behind. But we haven't tried it yet. Should we try it later? Ugh. It's true. A knight exclaimed, I'm surprised that I got such a high-end item upon spawn. It took only a few seconds to activate, and then I'm back in the Lion's Pride Inn. Chapter 685. The first battle begins. Warsong Gulch. The internet cafe was bustling. As soon as this treasure was discovered, it quickly spread to other players. Of course, this was one of the basic mechanics of the game. Many of the players in the old shops were watching Nalan Minksu's live stream. They said that there are elves. How come I haven't seen any? Many people came to the live stream room early, watching the live stream cheerfully while enjoying instant noodles. Soon, someone answered with a bullet comment. Maybe they haven't gotten online yet. Be patient. They're online now. They're online now. Nalan Minksu clicked open the friends list and saw the names of the elves lighting up. You guys came early too? Sala friendly greeted them. Yeah, we don't have classes this morning. Soon, she received Nalan Minksu's reply. Classes? Sala was curious. Are you students in an academy? Little kids. Hee. Many players in the old shops were watching the live stream, and bullet comments instantly flooded the screen. Ha ha ha. Little kids. Is she an elf? She sounds fun. New Snow. Ask her how old she is. She looks young too. She looks younger than New Snow. Ha ha ha. It was still morning, and the live stream room was full of joyous laughter. Nalan Minksu sent a message over and said, my friends said that you might be younger than me. How can it be? Sala replied smugly, I've lived more than 100 years. You guys can call me older sister Sala. Although many females were sensitive about their age, many teenagers were exceptions and were afraid to look immature to others. Although 100 years were old for humans, for elves, this age was equivalent to that of a teenager. The people here usually call someone over 100 years aunt. Soon, she received Nalan Minksu's reply. Bullet comments appeared on the screen. New Snow is still sharp-tongued. This attribute of hers will never change. The elf will probably get mad if we call her aunt. Does it mean that we can call Elder Su Aunt Su? The person before me. Are you serious? Be careful. Elder Sue might appear from behind you and explode your head. Don't worry, I'm her senior brother. Pu, Liu Yun Taoist Palace Master. Sala replied while hurrying toward Undercity. You guys can go ahead and do the quests. I'll be there soon. Take your time. We're lost, and I must study the situation first. Okay. While these players wandered in Undercity, Mr. Dirk of the Orc clan was enjoying the game with a great tail sticking out from his robe and swaying around. This Orgrimmar is so huge that I feel dizzy walking in it. I'll study the map first. Where's this place, Mr. Dirk? Someone asked on the magic letter. After all, some audience members didn't watch live stream every day. It was clear that this person hadn't watched yesterday's live stream. Is he back in the Orc Kingdom? From Huge Sword of Grimmer. He is in a newly released mystical realm. This seems to be a massive mystical realm made specially by the Blizzard Workshop in the East Continent. I'm sure the friend above me didn't watch the show yesterday. From Observant Eye. My goodness. Is this a mystical realm? Does the East Continent have such supersized workshops too? How come this place looks like an orc city? From Huge Sword of Grimmer. This is an orc city. Each race has its own cities in this mystical realm. From Observant Eye. Really? This city looks like a real one. Are you sure that there are many such cities in the mystical realm? While they were talking, Mr. Dirk wandered around, and his new audience took the opportunity to enjoy a lot of the scenery of Orgrimmar. Right now, I seem to be in their Valley of Honor. This place looks to be an important location with so many military officers here, but they didn't block my entrance. I wonder if there are some important quests here. I'll ask these soldiers. Mr. Dirk was an orc soldier who was carrying a double-handed sword on his back. Controlling this little orc character who was about level 10, he walked into the Valley of Honor. Around him were tent-like structures built with steel and huge boulders. They seemed to be talking about a battleground. I think this is the place where they fought the Alliance. Should I join them? Mr. Dirk asked. It looks dangerous, but I can resurrect here. Besides, those military officers told me that I will only battle with opponents on my level. Should I go in and try it? Are we going to watch Mr. Dirk kill enemies and dominate the battleground? From White Tulip. Opponents of the same level are opponents of the same strength, right? Then, there's nothing to be afraid of. From Huge Sword of Grimmer. We orcs are fearless. It is not fun to fight wild beasts. Finally, Mr. Dirk gets to show his real strength. Let them see the awesome sword techniques of the Orc clan. From Wolf-Headed Man. It depends on who's playing, Mr. Dirk or Mr. Dog-Headed Man. If it's the latter, it will be embarrassing. From Sky Ocean Knight Legion. The audience gave Mr. Dirk two identities. One was the powerful Mr. Dirk, and the other was the embarrassing Mr. Dog-Headed Man. Although the two identities were the same person, if Mr. Dirk lost a battle or made a mistake, the audience would say that he was controlled by the embarrassing Dog-Headed Man. At this moment, the audience saw that Mr. Dirk had agreed to join the battle. In World of Warcraft, players above level 10 could enter the first battleground named Warsong Gulch, fighting for their side. Although the system version of World of Warcraft had made everything as real as possible, it was still a game and maintained the features that were convenient for the players. Take the battlegrounds as an example. As a small battleground, Warsong Gulch obviously didn't need many people in it, which was why it was designed to have a separate plane for each group of Alliance and Horde players, just like the design of dungeons in Dungeon Fighter Online. At this stage, the battlegrounds in the system version of World of Warcraft divided players by every 5 levels, which meant that the players wouldn't encounter opponents more than 5 levels higher than them. In the battlegrounds, the players would gain experience points regardless if they won or lost, making it a great opportunity to practice their combat skills. It seems like we need to wait for a while. At this moment, many players had reached the required level but found that there were few people in the battleground. Ugh. Mr. Dirk suddenly felt that his body turned weightless for a second as he was teleported to a strange place. I have entered this battleground. Let's see what the battleground in World of Warcraft looks like. Before him was a moderate-sized stone chamber with many players in it. Obviously, they had also discovered this battleground mode and entered it as the earliest participants. In the Geocity shop Nalan Mingsu looked around in bafflement. Bullet comments appeared on the screen. Where is this place? It seems like she was teleported to another place. Nalan Mingsu said, I seemed to have been teleported to another place named Warsong Gulch. Only a moment ago, the military officer was explaining this to me, and here I am. How come it is so fast? Chapter 686, ADHD before battle. And Elder Suhu went AFK on the battleground. Info note, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and AFK stands for Away from Keyboard. By now, only a small portion of players had reached level 10. After all, World of Warcraft was more refined than the Legend of Mir 2, and it wasn't as simple and crude. The players needed to learn lots of stuff. At this moment, like Elder Suhu, many players were still wandering in the beginner's zone. Like the members of the Golden Griffin Knight Legion, some still didn't know how to use the Hearthstones and only mastered skills such as Judgment by accident. The players who could go to the battleground were either lucky, skillful, or had been focusing on leveling up. For example, the dwarf Elder Sork in the Kanglan City shop had been teleported to the battleground as well, and he was one of the players with good skills. In the half-city shop, the King of Rangers, a youth who was about 14 years old, had graduated from Dungeon Fighter Online and was also trying World of Warcraft today. There was a moderate number of viewers in his live stream room. Playing as a night elf hunter, he entered the battleground while reading the messages on the screen. Give a show? I'll try. But I think we'll have a big streamer on the battleground today. Don't you think so? I don't know the situation in the new shop, but I think we might encounter masters from the Outlands. He took off his virtual reality headset and said, I'll eat some instant noodles first and see what happens on the battleground. Meanwhile, on the side of the horde, the players were all teleported into a stone tower. The moment Mr. Dirk entered, he glanced around while holding his double-handed sword. I see enemies. The moment I enter the battleground, it's indeed a dangerous place. I'm using Bloodridge, Charge, Whirling Cleave. He used his own battle technique, Execution. He yelled repeatedly as if he was controlling his combat techniques with his voice. While hacking and slashing with his double-handed sword, he used elegant movements as he charged toward a troll. Attacks are ineffective. Hiss. He seems to belong to the horde too. Oh, I hacked the wrong person. Looking at the troll who had been paralyzed by fear, the orc on the screen murmured to himself. At this moment, each player received a prompt. The battleground will be opened in 1 minute. The battle hasn't begun yet. I thought I would engage in a battle as soon as I came. Embarrassing. The audience erupted and talked amongst themselves. Dog-headed man. He's definitely the embarrassing dog-headed man. He almost hacked his teammate to death. By now, 10 teammates had all arrived, and the atmosphere became more tense during the countdown. Why does this person keep on twitching? In the Geocity shop still need to wait for 1 minute? I'll eat some noodles then. While eating instant noodles, Nalan Mingsu put one finger on the keyboard and moved on the left key and right key repeatedly. On her screen, the undead character moved to the left and then back repeatedly as if she was having a stroke. Beside the undead, an orc wildly hacked at the door with an axe. The attacks are ineffective at this moment. The troll who had been paralyzed by fear condensed a magic ball in his hand and crashed it onto the head of the man beside him. As a veteran player, Black Demon was playing as an undead warlock. While stuffing a spicy stick into his mouth, he controlled his character to strike the magic staff onto the head of a teammate. It seems like the attacks are ineffective here. Beside him, a Tauren hacked at him with an axe. The 1 minute was obviously a long wait for these players. Some moved from left to the right and then back, some hacked at the door wildly, and some hacked at each other with staffs and huge axes, trying to hurt each other and looking extremely violent. This scene was unbelievably pretty. The audience of Mr. Dirk's live stream were dazed by the scene. Isn't this the battleground? The battle hasn't begun yet. What are you guys doing? I read the instruction. Sutanji's human mage character was also on the battleground. It said that the side which takes 3 flags is the winner. At this moment, the countdown had begun. 3, 2, 1. The doors finally opened, and both sides dashed out at a blistering pace. Sutanji sat down by the Alliance's flag all by herself. Everyone, I'm sure that it's not right to rush out like this. I'll stay behind to guard the flag, so no one can steal it. Awesome. Elder Su is finally smart for once. Sutanji was a little smug. When someone comes here to steal the flag, you just watch my skills. Sitting on the edge of the Night Elf's Ashen Vale, Warsong Gulch was covered in green turfs with many stumps left by huge ancient trees and huge boulders that had existed for many years. The Warsong Gulch in the system version was larger than the one in the original version, but it was an open space. When the players dashed out together, they soon spotted their opponents. Let's play a war song. Nalan Minksu finally stopped controlling with the keyboard. Last of the Wilds by Nightwish, the spiritual state language version. When the passionate music sounded, she entered the battle while listening to the music. On the battleground, the players who had ranged classes had begun attacking. Lightning bolts and flames of all colors shot across dozens of meters, exploding and creating many streaks of dazzling light on the ground. Nalan Minksu controlled her undead warrior character to observe discreetly at the edge of the battleground. Then, she heard a bestial roar and saw an orc warrior charging out. I'm surprised. Mr. Dirk's audience was surprised that Mr. Dirk became so valiant and fierce. Charge of a fierce man. Dash from Sky Ocean Knight Legion. Orc sword technique. Dash from wolf-headed man. Their warriors of this level were very powerful. Since the players didn't have adequate items and proper skill sets, they were defenseless and were easy to kill when the attacks struck their vital parts. Nalan Minksu, who was observing the battle, watched the orc warrior charge and kill an alliance mage with one strike. Awesome. Lead the horde to victory, the audience exclaimed. At this moment, the audience felt that the firepower of the alliance was inferior to that of the horde. Then, this orc was swallowed by all kinds of spells. That's embarrassing. How come he couldn't dodge the spells? Can these low-level spells lock onto their targets spiritually? In the system version of World of Warcraft, the magic spells could lock onto targets via spiritual energy. Even if the opponents dodged the spells would seek after them for a while. Therefore, it was hard to successfully dodge a spell. The best method was blocking them with swords or shields or countering them with attacks. That's a close one. In the flames, the orc still had a few points of HP left and immediately hid behind a boulder. At this moment, his teammates used spells, battling their opponents and not giving them the chance to focus on him. Meanwhile, Nalan Minksu had moved to the back of their enemies under the cover of the small rocky hills and plants. The mage who was targeted by Nalan Minksu casted spells while wondering, how come I have the feeling that we should have one more teammate with us? Charge. Nalan Minksu dashed out at great speed and struck her sword onto the mage's chest with vicious force. She interrupted his spellcasting. While the battle went on fiercely, Sutanji was staying behind in their home camp. She had waited for 2 minutes. Still, no one is coming. 3 minutes later. What's wrong? Outside the battleground. The King of Rangers said, I told you that there's a streamer among them. However, why do I feel like we have one less teammate? We can't hold them. 10 minutes later. Sutanji had begun eating potato chips, and she said blurrily with chips in her mouth, how come no one is coming? Teammate, how come we've been fighting so long with one less player? She is AFK. She is going AFK so blatantly. I'm shocked. asked. Why did Elder Sue go AFK on her teammates on the battleground? Awesome. Many bullet comments appeared. Chapter 687, Online Game Scale Mystical Realm. In World of Warcraft, the players could obtain experience points and also honor points which could elevate their prestige ranks. Prestige ranks were required to have the privilege to buy certain items. It was why there would be two groups of players who preferred to play PvP or PvE respectively. On the side of the Alliance, the King of Rangers wasn't the only one fighting. People like Dwarf Elder Sork and Mage Adolf's disciple Dickers were also in the battleground. As a mage, she had more convenience in certain things compared to Mr. Dirk, who was a warrior. For example, she had sent back the visuals of the battleground to the Royal Magic Union and some mages who were good friends of hers. With several streamers and players who activated the spiritual spell visual projection in the battle, many people were watching what was happening on the battleground. What are they doing? Some mages had just begun watching the battle. In the spiritual spell visual projection before them, the battleground was full of flying magic spells and arrows while the players with melee characters battled fiercely. Since several players on the Alliance's side had resurrected several times, the battlefront was stretched very long and wasn't as concentrated as before. Dickers' human priest character was chanting a spell when a black shadow lunged at her. She waved her hands and chanted a simple incantation. Power word, shield. Faint lights instantly rose around her. What's this spell? A new spell? When did the Magic Union develop this new shield spell? It looks to be a small spell but seems quite useful. Many mages watching Dickers battle on the battleground were surprised. Power word, shield was different from the magic shield spell in the Legend of Mir 2. The latter could weaken the opponent's attack to an acceptable range, and the user of this spell would still be hurt by the attack. On the other hand, power word, shield could completely absorb most of the regular damage. However, the magic shield spell could allow the user to take the attack from opponents 1 or 2 levels higher, but power word, shield couldn't. Power word, shield had its own advantages. For example, before the shield was broken, it could protect its caster from most of the regular attack and wouldn't be interrupted even if the caster chanted spells right before the enemy. The magic shield spell couldn't do that. At this moment, Dickers didn't run. Instead, she chanted spells under the protection of this shield. Their warrior is a bit late to charge up now, right? The priest is protected by the shield. At this level, their warrior is already halfway defeated. The first spell that Dickers chanted was Mind Blast, which took only a short time to chant. Dickers was confident in her spellcasting skills. However, in the next moment, she found that this warrior moved around her in swift steps like a twitching phantom. She tried for a long time but couldn't lock her spell onto the target. Oh, can you stop moving? In the end, since she already chanted, she shot the spell forward. Puchy. It missed. She felt dizzy already. The shield was finally broken. Nalan Minksu's undead warrior character slashed out her sword. Looking at Dickers, who was now lying on the ground, the mages of the Royal Magic Union asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm fighting on the battleground." With tears on her face, Dickers was astonished that her opponent had dodged her spell this way. Resentfully, she returned to the graveyard and waited for resurrection. Meanwhile, Sudanji, who had been guarding the flag, couldn't remain sitting anymore. "Don't mock me, okay?" Looking at the haters' comments on the screen, she stood up and said, "It is them who don't know how to win the battle, and no one is coming to get the flag. How can you say that I'm AF King?" After all, she was guarding the flag. It wasn't the same as going AFK. Okay. Realizing that they were all new players, and probably no one had thought of taking the flag, she finally came out. "Watch how I lead the Alliance to victory. We'll lose if we continue like this." Dwarf Elder Sork was not dumb, and he knew that they were at the disadvantage and would be eliminated one by one if they didn't work together. The resurrected players, "Come here." The people in the front, "Come back. Let's gather together. Don't be alone." Elder Sork played a dwarf hunter character who was using a gun as shown in the trailer. Crack. His firearm shot out a long stream of firelight. Before them, Liang Shi controlled his orc warrior character to charge at the dwarf. Then, he shifted to the side and dodged the bullet charge. Liang Shi was almost before the dwarf of the alliance when he heard a sharp sound. Then, his body turned cold, and his movements slowed down. He turned his head and saw Xuanhuan still raising her magic wand after casting the spell. Meanwhile, Dwarf Sork's bear lunged at him and smashed down with his paw. Then, swoosh! A night elf hunter shot out an arrow from the cliff. Concussive shots. We must come gather. The king of rangers said, otherwise, we will lose the battle. Then, chilly ice spread out on the ground toward Liang Shi in waves. Xuanhuan's frost nova. Immediately, Liang Shi saw another icicle shooting toward him. FCK. Honorable kill. Together. Come and charge together. Xuanhuan raised her arm and yelled, launching the counterattack. Kill the orc who is charging toward us. Clear them together. Clear them all. The players in the horde couldn't understand the words of the players in the alliance. With his spiritual spell visual projection still on, Mr. Dirk froze when he saw arrows, bullets, and spells swarming toward him in waves. Without a chance to dodge, he was instantly killed. The players had filed into the battleground separately, so they fought for themselves. Soon, almost half of the horde players, including the mages, assassins, and shamans, were all killed and sent to the graveyard. My goodness, they are so strong. The embarrassing dog-headed man was killed. Mr. Dirk's audience was still puzzled and didn't have the time to react. They wondered why this side seemed to be dominating a moment ago, but the opponents suddenly got more powerful. Assassin, go and take the flag. Others follow. At this moment, many horde players were still in the graveyard, and the remaining ones were instantly scattered and watched as the alliance players took their flag. Oh, the battle should be fought like this. Resurrected, Dickers followed her teammates into the enemy's camp without meeting any resistance. The alliance got 1 point. In Xuanhuan's live stream room dash. Awesome. This battle is excellent. Very good. Even the shop owner said it was good. I told you not to mock me. Xuanhuan looked smug. Now, who dares to call me an entertainment streamer? Meanwhile dash. This battleground feels interesting. The opponents are very strong. The audience members in the Royal Magic Union were eager to try the game after watching Dickers playing in this so-called battleground. Is this also a mystical realm? Could it be a new mystical realm? It's the Blizzard Workshop's new mystical realm called World of Warcraft. Dickers looked at them, seeming to be judging their ignorance. You guys don't know about it? Blizzard Workshop? The mages looked puzzled. Many people are talking about this previously unknown workshop. What's this mystical realm about? You just battle on the battlegrounds in it? This is only a part of it, Dickers explained proudly. Battlegrounds are only a small part of the mystical realm. The races you saw come from different main cities in World of Warcraft, and some of the people in here come from the East Continent. World of Warcraft is a mystical realm that is called an online game. People from different continents can all gather in this mystical realm. Wow! They had thought little of the rumors around it. But after watching it and hearing the introduction, they exclaimed, an online game mystical realm. This online game is so good. Where are you now? Where can we enter this online game scale mystical realm? Chapter 688. This elder is a mole, and the end of battleground filled with newbies. I'm in Kanglan City. Surprised that her team had turned the tables and won this round, Dickers explained in elation and excitement. I'm in Origin's internet cafe with my mentor. We've been in World of Warcraft for the last 2 days. Your mentor? The mage's expressions changed as they asked, you mean Mr. Adolf is there too? A mage in a black cloak asked in surprise. Are you sure that he's not trying the new mystical realm of the Lava Workshop in Kanglan City? Lava Workshop? Dickers turned the camera to another direction. Look, who is he? The audience instantly saw an old dwarf wearing worn leather armor with a gun in his hand. This The mages were at a loss for words. Is he Elder Sork? He's in this mystical realm too? You came to another workshop's mystical realm instead of going to the mystical realm of your dwarf clan? You mean, Elder Sork of the dwarf clan is also using the mystical realm called World of Warcraft. Keep it up, friends. At this moment, the dwarf elder raised his arm and yelled, work harder, and our alliance will obtain victory on this battleground. On the other side we'll lose all advantages if we continue this way. Mr. Dirk died a moment ago. However, as a rogue who had toured many nations, he didn't lose his cool. Our opponents are strong and were only at a disadvantage because they had one less teammate with them. Therefore, we must change our tactics. They are indeed strong. Give me a moment to consider our next move. How can you win on this battleground? On the other side, the mages watching Dicker's spiritual spell visual projection were eager to know the rules even though they were not in the game yet. Knowing the rules beforehand would help them play the game better when they were in it. It was much better than going in blind. It seems that we need to take their army flag. Dickers explained to them in the game. As a new player, she was still puzzled but knew that them taking the flag from their enemy seemed to be useful. At this moment, several mages saw a figure passing behind Dickers in a flash. I saw someone pass with a flag on the shoulder. Watching the spiritual spell visual projection, a mage said, he was right behind you. Really? Dickers looked around doubtfully, and then she said solemnly, this is a battleground. Don't try to fool with me. At this moment, a rogue raced away right under their nose while carrying a flag on his shoulder. Carrying the flag couldn't be done in stealth, or the flag would drop in the original version. In the system version, the players couldn't be in stealth while carrying the flag, which meant that they could sneak in but couldn't sneak out. Come and help me. I stole the flag. Harrison howled. My goodness. Go after him. Our flag got stolen. How come he can run so fast? Seeing this scene, Sutanji and her teammates almost dropped to the ground. With so many people guarding the flag, it was still taken away by a rogue right under their nose. It was evident that Harrison's efforts in playing Assassin's Creed paid off. He had dodged almost everyone's eyes. Right now, he raced away with the flag on his shoulder. Anyone, help me. Nalan Minksu was considering how to fight the battle when she suddenly heard the yell. Looking up, she saw an undead rogue racing to them with tears on his face while many people chased after him. They ran around the big tree stumps, mountain boulders, and hills again and again. Don't let him get away. Frostbolt. Concussive shot. Entangling roots. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Stop these alliance people. Nalan Minksu finally snapped back to her senses. Charge. Frost Nova. Roar. A druid turned into a grizzly bear and came up to stop them. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Black Demon's undead warlock character was shooting shadow bolts repeatedly. Both sides battled fiercely, barely dragging his legs from the entangling roots. Harrison continued to run. The thief is gone. Go after him. Sutanji began her roaring Elder Su mode. Stop him. Anyone. I'll control the area with the Frost Nova, and you guys go get him quickly. Puchy. A shadow bolt shot into her head. An honorable kill. Who did it? In the live stream room the idol Elder Su was killed again. Elder Su, open the ghost mode. Who was it? Come out for me. Ha ha ha. Lowering his head, Black Demon immediately moved to another position. What should we do now? It seems that we're at a draw. Mr. Dirk still looked confused. Is it because we captured the flag in the center of the battleground? No flag now? We should probably continue. They whispered to each other. Both sides stood on the highlands in their home camps and faced each other from a distance. 1, 2, 8, 9. They did the head count. One person is missing. Now, Elder Su was sitting beside their flag again. Just watch how I defend the flag all by myself. Then, she saw a female undead warrior sneaking up. New Snow, you dare to come and steal my flag? Nalan Minksu burst out. You want to charge? Sutanji operated her character with her voice while live streaming. I'll freeze you on the spot with Frost Nova. Frost Bolt. Oh. Sutanji stood there and cast the spell, shooting 2 arrows at Nalan Minksu. Awesome. Entertainment streamer versus technical streamer. Praises flooded the screen. Thanks to Elder Su's professional hater for sending 66 awesomes. Sutanji said in satisfaction, I'll show you what a technical streamer looks like. Okay. While running after Nalan Minksu, who had struggled out of the freezing effect, she said casually, someone asked me what I would do if I lose. You guys just have no faith in me, right? If I lose, I'm a mole. The people who had watched Harry Potter were quite familiar with the word mole. Suddenly, a figure dashed past her from behind. How come there is another one? Sutanji yelled in alarm. Assassin, backstab. Ah! Sutanji yelled, don't panic. I still have a chance. Watch how I fight 2 opponents on my own. Meanwhile, Nalan Minksu slashed her with the saber. Ouch. On the screen, bullet comments shot up. Elder Su is surrounded. Elder Su is between a rock and a hard place. Elder Su typed out GG. The bullet comments flooded the screen. 10 seconds later Sutanji fell to the ground. While waiting for resurrection, she found that someone donated to her. Sulkily, she took a quick look. Thanks to this elder is a mole for 100 awesome. Sutanji froze. ? Before long, the battle on the battleground filled with newbies came to the end. Chapter 689, we discovered a super treasure reserves, dead mines. When entering the battleground without a team, individual strength was important but couldn't change the overall situation, especially in a battle where all the participants were strong. I stole the flag. On the other side, the King of Rangers excitedly carried the Horde's flag out of its home camp. Thanks to my teammates' coverage, I think I'll win this round for us. Then, he ran into a figure. Charge. During the charge, this figure took out a sword and a shield. While blocking the opponent's arrows, he killed the opponent with a slash. Honorable kill. The King of Rangers was at a loss for words. Roar. I got the flag. Dwarf Elder Sork immediately ran over to help. Although they had never met before, at this moment, they were intimate comrades. Come and help. I've controlled the undead warrior. FCK your control. Black Demon hiding in the dark casted the spell named Corruption. Shadow Bolt. At this moment, Nalan Minksu took the opportunity to charge up. At this moment, the Orchestrates of Hardness, which reduced the duration of stun effects, was quite useful. I must get away. In the critical moment, Elder Sork reacted quickly by leaping dozens of meters backward. Having dodged tons of damages, he avoided the fate of being crippled. Only 1 minute was left. Orc sword techniques. With a blood-curdling roar, Mr. Dirk hacked around wildly. At this moment, a figure fell from the sky. Puchy. I hacked on something. Honorable kill. In Kanglan City, Dwarf Elder Sork put down his virtual reality headset in confusion and slapped his palm on his forehead. What happened, old friend? Beside him, Grand Mage Adolf asked curiously. On Elder Sork's screen, his character lay on the ground with a red flag in his hand while an orc stood over him, waving his sword. Looking at Elder Sork, who still had his hand on his forehead, Adolf made the connection and was speechless. In this fierce battle full of grandmasters, it was hard to notice everything and hear every sound. Having just killed an opponent, Mr. Dirk widened his eyes. Seeing that no one was watching, he picked up the flag and raced back. What a lucky dog. The audience was amazed. Embarrassing dog. Waiting to get lucky? By now Mr. Dirk's audience obviously had summarized him and made some good quotes. It seems that they will win the battle. The dog-headed man who did nothing for the team actually won the battle. Charge of a fierce man. Orc sword techniques? You mean we won? How did we win? My teammates are so strong. All the credit should go to my awesome teammates. Yells came from their home camp when the two brought back the flags almost simultaneously. The time was up. Soon, The result showed on the interface. The horde was victorious. Rewards for the first victory in the battleground. The awards look plentiful. The rewards for the first victory in battlegrounds were things such as extra experience points and honor points after players obtained a victory on the battleground each day. Each player could take the rewards only once per day. Excellent. I'll do it again tomorrow. Awesome. Anyone wants to join me and fight on the battleground together? The horde players who obtained the victory were thrilled. Meanwhile, in Eldersu's live stream room on the side of Alliance, entertainment streamer. This elder is a mole. She said that. She admitted it herself. Bullet comments flooded the screen. In the King of Rangers live stream room, I was caught off guard by her attack. It was a mistake. The King of Rangers was regretful and wanted to battle again. I leveled up. Nalan Minksu's undead warrior suddenly emitted a series of light as she leveled up, standing where she was. Where were you? In the personal chat channel, she saw messages from some elves. I went to the battleground. Nalan Minksu replied, I obtained a victory and got some first victory rewards, which includes many experience points. I even leveled up once. So fast. The elves had started to understand the layout of Undercity. They discovered that it was divided into 4 floors, and the locations marked on the map could be on any of the floors. They could only travel to different floors through the elevators in the fixed locations in the city. Since the city was bigger than the original version, there were more elevators. After all, it was troublesome to find the locations of the quests on the map and then run back to take the same elevator up or down to find the spot. At this moment, the elves finally found the way and arrived at the quest location. Sala returned to her team and said, I watched the shop owner play this and found that he is several levels higher than us. What's he doing? Nalan Minksu asked. I've no idea. I only saw him wandering in the wilderness. Sala complained. Don't mind him. Nalan Minksu said, do you guys want to fight on the battleground and take the first victory rewards? Okay. World of Warcraft was a game with many ways of playing. The players preferring PvP could level up through battlegrounds, and there was also the regular leveling up routes in the wilderness. Of course, few people would level up only through fighting in battlegrounds. With this method, the players could only level up faster than the regular way by entering each battleground without waiting and winning the battles with a landslide. The main function of the battlegrounds was leveling up the prestige ranks, which wasn't a top priority for low-level players. Therefore, the elves such as Sala and other players just went to the battleground to obtain the first victory before going back to their regular activities. While the players of the undead race in the Horde played happily on the battleground, the Alliance players began to walk out of Stormwind City. In the Geocity shop the royal members of the Royal Clan Guild had obviously all chosen to join the Alliance. By now, they had gradually leveled up to level 13 and level 14. Growl. At this moment, Royal Princess Qiu and the disciples of Shengjing Academy had played the game for the whole morning, and their bellies growled. Sir, they sent a message to Mr. Fang. Can't we have 2 bowls of instant noodles each day in your shop? We're now hungry. You can order takeout if you have nothing to eat. While busy killing mobs, Mr. Fang answered casually. Takeout? Royal Princess Jiu said in puzzlement. What's that? Touch a button on your communication jade, and your food will come, Mr. Fang said. Wait a minute. No one does this in Geocity? No. Mr. Fang thought for a moment and then browsed his QQ. Dong King Lai. Your Wind and Moon Pavilion doesn't want to do takeout business, huh? Dong King Lai looked baffled. Take. What? What's that? Meanwhile, in the Geocity shop, some members of the Royal Clan Guild were still playing World of Warcraft. Suddenly, the second prince yelled, Look what I found. It's a new place. Dead mines. What's this place for? Is it a treasure reserve? The second prince looked around and saw that no one had been here yet, and this place reminded him of the mine tunnels and the Corpse King Palace in the Legend of Mir 2. If this place also was a super treasure reserve like the Corpse King Palace, the second prince sent several private messages in the game. You guys, Come and check this out. I found a super treasure reserve. Get more people here. Get more people here. Chapter 690. The beginning of For the Horde. The epic legends told by the bards sounded very distant for people in this age. The deeds in the legends had been long forgotten or only existed in the fragmented tales or legends passing down from the distant past. However, part of the things told in the seemingly unreachable legends and tales had existed all the time but were not known to ordinary people. Humans seemed to be living on an island named Ignorance in the gloomy ocean which was vast and contained endless mysteries. But luckily for most of the people, they didn't venture too far out or examine things too carefully. In the Sylvan Moon Forest of the Elf Clan. In the royal palace of the Elf Clan lived the royal members who enjoyed the loftiest rank within their society. Only elders and royal members could enter this place. Standing beside the lake that was as calm as a clear mirror, a silver-haired and silver-bearded old elf seemed to be able to look through the lake and into the void with his deep eyes. What do you see? First elder. A middle-aged elf who wore the same luxurious elder robe walked up from behind. I see nothing. Except for darkness. That elder murmured, how long has it been since the last time that we received a message from the elf god? Only silence answered him. Elder. After a long while, an elf reported to him, from the clues that we have gathered, we seemed to have found something new. The silver-haired and silver-bearded elder of the elf clan nodded and asked solemnly, where's Elder Sewell? I haven't seen her lately. Elder Sewell went to a human nation, saying that she would try a mystical realm in a place called Origins Internet Cafe. She said that she will be back at the end of August. What month is it now? The first elder of the elf clan glanced around the trees. Despite the permanent spring in the forest, he could still detect the small changes. It's October now, elder. Has Elder Sewell returned? Not yet. In the new Kanglan City shop of Origins Internet Cafe at this moment, messages jumped in Mr. Fang's QQ's interface. Inside the chat box with Dong King Lai, Mr. Fang said, I say, can't you detect any new business opportunity after being a shop owner for so long? Dong King Lai replied, Pikachu's cute emoji. What business opportunity? You won't agree to sell me hundreds of boxes of instant noodles? Mr. Fang's face twitched. No, with so many people coming from outside the city, don't you see their needs? What needs? Mr. Fang replied. They need to eat. Dong King Lai said, I know it. Many of them go to my restaurant, but the seats are not enough for them all sometimes. Later, some people have begun bringing meals with them. So, Mr. Fang suggested, can't you do the takeout business? Since you don't have enough seats in the restaurant, you can deliver the food to them. Now that everyone has communication jades, can't you guys use your brain and think of a solution? You might be right. Dong King Lai thought for a moment and said, might be. What do you mean by might be? Mr. Fang's face darkened. Do you know how to do business? Do you need me to teach you how to run your own business? No, my restaurant is managed by Waniu and others. Mr. Fang was at a loss for words. In the chat box with Shenkinking Mr. Fang said, do you guys have plans after graduation? Shenkinking said, what plans? Mr. Fang said, don't you have any ambition? What's your dream? Shenkinking replied, my dream is staying in Jua City. After playing games for a few more years, I will become a female emperor warrior with my talent. Mr. Fang said, don't you have a bigger dream? Shenkinking said, I think this dream is very big. Mr. Fang looked frustrated. You lazy people. By the way, I got the content ready for the new official novels. One is Dungeon Fighter Online and the other is World of Warcraft, Rise of the Horde. The plot for Dungeon Fighter Online focused on the stories of the adventurers and thus was relatively simple. The other book, Rise of the Horde, could be seen in World of Warcraft the game. On Mr. Fang's screen, the undead rogue was holding a damaged book, Rise of the Horde. When he opened the book, he could read the fragments of the story. In World of Warcraft, one could find treasure chests and treasures in the relics and caves. Likewise, there were stories about World of Warcraft and relics or libraries. They told some stirring past events relating to World of Warcraft. Who Fang Chi exhaled deeply. He only remembered the general plot of the story. Only if he could find the original story. Even a partial one would be helpful. Of course, in the game, he could only see a damaged book written in the Horde language, which meant that he would need translators who excelled in the spiritual state language and the Nora continent language to do the work. Therefore, an idea occurred to him. At this moment, Jessica and the other janitors who were eating melons and drinking tea in the Yuan Yang City shop picked up their communication jade. Tuck. An opportunity to get a promotion. Translate Rise of the Horde. What's this thing? After the teleportation array was in operation, Fang Chi could travel between his shops with ease. In the Wind and Moon Pavilion, Mr. Fang booked a compartment. Besides Mr. Fang, Shen Qingqing and the super janitor team including Jessica sat in it. Mr. Fang was sulky that he, an internet cafe owner, had to tell stories to these people. On second thought, he realized that it would be great for him if his games could be presented to all the players perfectly. As told in the book, this tale isn't about the Horde as it existed today, a loose organization of orcs, taurens, forsaken, trolls, and blood elves. It is about the earliest Horde, the Horde that first rose. Like that of any infant, its birth was marked by blood and pain, and its harsh cries seeking for life meant death to its enemies. This bloody story had a peaceful beginning. It was in a rolling valley in the green continent named Druana. The story told how the orcs turned from a peaceful race to slaves of the Burning Legion, how they became bloodthirsty, combative, and destructive, and how Ner'zhul and Goldenfelland degenerated driven by their hunger for strength and power. With a tragic tone, the book retold the gradual downfall of the Orc clan and the helpless lamentations of all the conscientious orcs. The exile of the Frostwolf clan gave the orcs a sliver of help and made them get away from the conflicts, saving the last bit of force for the orc race. The following was one paragraph from the book. Blackhand, the warlord of Blackrock clan, demonstrated the first group of warlocks that he had trained to other clans, brothers and sisters of the orc race. Blackhand shouted, "You gave me honor and respect, and I will not let down the countless noble warriors. We're strengthening our weapons and armor each day. Now, we discard those unpredictable elements and possess true power, which means that we don't have to beg from anyone for anything. This power is controlled and mastered by our warlocks. This is true power. We have a clear objective. We will eliminate the Draenei from our land. They will not be able to block the crazy herds of our warriors and warlocks. We will be their worst nightmare. Fight." He raised his arms and shouted, "For the Horde." Thousands of voices yelled with great passion. For the Horde. For the Horde. For the Horde. The tragic and thrilling scene was only a small splash in the huge plot of World of Warcraft, but the words for the Horde had since spread all over the world.